If you are over 60, I want you to slow down for a moment and truly pay attention to how your mornings feel. Not with fear and not with worry, but with calm awareness. Most people are never told that aging does not affect the body evenly throughout the day. Instead, aging changes how the body handles transitions, and the most important transition of all happens every single morning. When we are younger, waking up is simple. The body shifts from sleep to activity smoothly. The heart increases its work slightly, blood pressure rises gently, and the nervous system adapts without strain. Most of us never think about this process because it happens effortlessly. After the age of 60, this process becomes more demanding. Blood vessels slowly lose flexibility. The nervous system becomes more sensitive to stimulation. Hormones that prepare the body for activity stay active longer than they used to. These changes do not mean the body is broken. They mean the body now requires more time and gentler handling during transitions. This is why many older adults describe mornings as their least comfortable time of day. They may wake up feeling slightly heavy in the head, mildly unsteady, or simply not quite themselves. The sensations are often vague. There may be no pain, no clear symptom that demands attention. Because of this, they are easy to ignore. Many people assume these feelings are just part of getting older. They tell themselves that everyone their age feels this way. They move on with their day and feel better later, which reinforces the idea that nothing serious is happening. But cardiovascular problems after 60 rarely begin with dramatic symptoms. They begin quietly, with small stresses that repeat day after day. During sleep, the body is in a protected state. Heart rate slows, blood pressure decreases slightly, and the nervous system becomes calm. This rest period allows the heart and blood vessels to recover from the demands of the day. When we wake up, the body must reverse all of this very quickly. Hormones are released to increase alertness. Blood vessels tighten to raise blood pressure. The heart pumps harder to ensure the brain receives enough oxygen. In younger adults, blood vessels respond easily, and this shift happens smoothly. In older adults, blood vessels are stiffer, and the nervous system reacts more strongly. The same hormonal signals that once caused only a gentle response now create a bigger effect. This is why the morning becomes a vulnerable window for the cardiovascular system after 60. Research and clinical experience both show that serious cardiovascular events, such as strokes, heart attacks, and abnormal heart rhythms, occur more frequently in the morning hours. This does not mean mornings are dangerous by nature. It means the body is adjusting, and adjustments require care. Unfortunately, modern routines do not respect this vulnerability. Many people get out of bed quickly, stimulate their nervous system immediately, and rush into activity. Over time, this creates a pattern. Morning after morning, blood pressure rises higher than it should. Morning after morning, the heart works harder at a time when it is least prepared for stress. These changes may not show up clearly on a blood pressure reading taken later in the day, but the body remembers repeated strain. Blood vessels remember repeated tightening. The heart remembers repeated effort. This is how long-term damage begins, quietly and gradually. In medical appointments, there is rarely time to discuss how the day begins. Doctors focus on numbers, medications, and test results. Morning routines are often overlooked, but for people over 60, how the day begins can matter more than almost anything else for heart health. Understanding this morning vulnerability is the foundation for everything else in this video. Before we can talk about specific habits, we must first understand why timing matters. When you understand how your body responds to the morning now, not decades ago, you gain control. Many people underestimate how powerful small morning stress can be after the age of 60. They think stress only matters when it is intense or emotional. But the body does not work that way. The heart and blood vessels respond not only to big stress, but also to repeated, quiet stress that happens every day. After 60, the cardiovascular system is no longer as forgiving as it once was. Blood vessels do not stretch as easily. The heart must work harder to move blood through a system that has become less flexible. Even small increases in pressure, when repeated every morning, can slowly wear the system down. This is why some people feel relatively fine during the afternoon or evening, but consistently feel uncomfortable in the morning. The body has already adapted by later in the day. Hormones have settled, blood pressure has stabilized, But the stress has already occurred earlier. Many seniors say something important without realizing it. They often say, "I feel better later in the day." This sentence tells us a lot. It tells us that the problem is not constant. It tells us that timing matters. The morning is not just another part of the day. It is a transition period. And transitions are always more demanding for the aging body. Another reason these morning changes are ignored is because older adults are resilient. They have lived through discomfort before. They are used to pushing through mild symptoms. They do not complain easily. This strength is admirable, but it can also delay recognition of problems that deserve attention. It is also important to understand that feeling slightly uncomfortable in the morning does not mean something terrible is about to happen. This is not about fear. It is about awareness. The goal is not to panic, but to recognize patterns early, before they become serious. When we talk about protecting the heart after 60, we are not talking about dramatic interventions. We are talking about reducing unnecessary strain during vulnerable moments. The morning is one of those moments. By slowing down the morning routine and understanding how the body reacts after waking, we give the cardiovascular system time to adjust. This simple respect for timing can reduce pressure on the heart far more than most people expect. This understanding prepares us for the next part of the video, where we will look closely at one common morning habit that seems harmless but places extra stress on the heart at exactly the wrong time. When you wake up in the morning, your body does not simply turn on. It goes through a complex transition that involves your brain, your nervous system, your hormones, and your blood vessels. This transition happens every day. But after the age of 60, it becomes more demanding and less forgiving. To understand why morning habits matter so much after 60, we need to understand what is actually happening inside your body when you wake up. During sleep, your body is in a resting mode. Your heart rate is lower. Your blood pressure is lower. Your nervous system is quieter. This is not an accident. Sleep is the time when your cardiovascular system recovers from the demands of the day. The heart works more gently. Blood vessels relax. The brain is protected from excessive stimulation. When you wake up, your body must reverse all of this in a relatively short period of time. The brain sends signals to prepare you for activity. Hormones are released to increase alertness. The nervous system shifts from a resting state to an active state. One of the most important systems involved in this process is the autonomic nervous system. This system controls things you do not consciously think about, such as heart rate, blood pressure, and blood vessel tone. It has two main parts. One part promotes rest and recovery. The other part prepares the body for action. During sleep, the resting side dominates. When you wake up, the activating side becomes more active. In younger adults, this shift is well balanced. The activating signals rise gradually. The resting signals fade smoothly. In older adults, this balance changes. The activating signals tend to be stronger. They rise more quickly, and they stay active longer. At the same time, the calming signals are weaker than they used to be. This means that when you wake up after 60, your heart and blood vessels may receive a stronger wake-up signal than they need. Your heart rate increases. Blood vessels tighten. Blood pressure rises. These changes are not necessarily dangerous on their own. They are part of the normal waking process. The problem arises when this activation is too strong or too sudden. Another important factor is hormones. In the early morning hours, your body releases hormones that help you feel awake and alert. These hormones also raise blood pressure and heart rate. In younger people, these hormone levels rise and fall quickly. In older adults, they tend to remain elevated longer. This prolonged exposure means the heart and blood vessels stay under pressure for a longer period of time. Blood vessels also play a critical role. As we age, blood vessels gradually lose flexibility. They become stiffer. They do not expand and contract as easily as they once did. When blood vessels are flexible, they can absorb changes in pressure smoothly. When they are stiff, pressure changes are transmitted more directly to the heart and brain. This is why sudden stimulation in the morning can feel uncomfortable after 60. The system has less ability to buffer the change. Another change that occurs with aging involves blood distribution. When you are lying down, blood is distributed evenly throughout the body. When you stand up, gravity pulls blood toward the lower body. The heart must work harder to push blood upward to the brain. In younger adults, blood vessels tighten quickly in the legs to prevent blood from pooling. In older adults, this response is slower and less precise. This can lead to brief drops or spikes in blood pressure during the first moments after standing. Your body usually corrects this quickly, but during those few moments, the heart is under additional strain. All of these processes are happening at the same time when you wake up. Your nervous system is activating. Your hormones are rising. Your blood vessels are tightening. Your heart is increasing its workload. This is why the morning is a sensitive window for the cardiovascular system after 60. It is not that something is wrong with your body. It is that your body is working harder to accomplish the same transition it used to handle easily. When we add extra stimulation during this window, we increase the strain even further. This is why certain morning habits have a much greater impact than people expect. Habits that stimulate the nervous system too early. Habits that raise heart rate or blood pressure before the body has fully adjusted. Habits that compress this transition into a very short period of time. Many people assume that if a habit feels normal, it must be harmless. But after 60, normal does not always mean optimal. Understanding what happens inside your body when you wake up gives you a powerful advantage. Instead of fighting your physiology, you can work with it. You can allow the nervous system to transition more gradually. You can give hormones time to rise and fall naturally. You can reduce unnecessary pressure on the heart and blood vessels. This does not require extreme changes. It requires awareness and timing. Now that you understand how demanding the morning transition can be after 60, we can talk about the specific habit that adds unnecessary stress during this vulnerable period. Once you see how this habit interacts with the systems we just discussed, the reason it raises blood pressure will become very clear. For many people, the morning does not truly begin until the first cup of coffee. The smell, the warmth, the familiar routine coffee feels comforting. For decades, it may have felt harmless, even helpful. And to be clear, coffee itself is not the enemy. For many adults, coffee has benefits. It can improve alertness. It can improve mood. In some people, it may even support long-term health. The issue is not coffee. The issue is timing, especially after the age of 60. To understand why drinking coffee too early can quietly raise blood pressure, we need to return to what happens in your body when you wake up. In the early morning, your body naturally releases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol helps you wake up. It increases alertness. It raises blood pressure slightly so that blood can reach the brain more efficiently. This cortisol rise is normal. It is part of a healthy waking process. In younger adults, cortisol rises briefly and then begins to fall within an hour. After 60, this pattern often changes. Cortisol levels may rise higher. They may stay elevated longer, and the body may become more sensitive to its effects. Now consider what caffeine does. Caffeine is a stimulant. It activates the nervous system. It causes blood vessels to tighten. It can increase heart rate and blood pressure. When coffee is consumed immediately after waking, caffeine is added on top of already elevated cortisol. This creates double stimulation at a time when the cardiovascular system is still adjusting. In younger people, the body often tolerates this combination. In older adults, the response can be stronger and more prolonged. This is why many seniors describe similar morning sensations: a feeling of pressure in the head, a faster or more forceful heartbeat, a sense of nervousness or restlessness, sometimes shakiness or mild anxiety. Because these sensations appear shortly after coffee, many people assume coffee is helping them wake up. In reality, the body may already be awake and being pushed too hard, too soon. Another factor that matters after 60 is how caffeine is processed. As we age, the liver processes caffeine more slowly. This means caffeine stays in the bloodstream longer, so the stimulating effect of a single cup of coffee may last longer than it did years ago. This prolonged stimulation can keep blood pressure elevated through the late morning hours. Many people are surprised to learn that caffeine does not raise blood pressure in everyone the same way. Some people are very sensitive to it, others are less sensitive. Sensitivity often increases with age. This means that a routine that felt fine at 40 may feel uncomfortable at 70, even if the coffee itself has not changed. There is also an important interaction with hydration. After a night of sleep, the body is mildly dehydrated. Blood volume is slightly lower. Blood is thicker. Drinking coffee before drinking water can worsen this effect. Caffeine has a mild diuretic effect. This can further reduce blood volume temporarily. Lower blood volume means the heart must work harder to maintain blood pressure. This can contribute to the feeling of strain many seniors notice in the morning. Blood sugar also plays a role. Many people drink coffee on an empty stomach. Caffeine can cause blood sugar to rise and then fall. In older adults, blood sugar regulation is often less stable. A sudden drop in blood sugar can trigger the nervous system, further raising heart rate and blood pressure. This combination, elevated cortisol, caffeine stimulation, dehydration, and unstable blood sugar, creates the perfect conditions for a morning blood pressure spike. The key point here is not that coffee is dangerous. The key point is that coffee is powerful, and power needs timing. The solution is not quitting coffee. The solution is waiting. Delaying coffee by 60 to 90 minutes allows the body's natural cortisol peak to pass. During this time, the nervous system settles slightly. Blood vessels adjust. The heart finds a steadier rhythm. Drinking water first helps restore blood volume. Eating a small breakfast helps stabilize blood sugar. Then, when coffee is introduced later, the body handles it much more smoothly. Many seniors are surprised by how much better they feel after making this simple change. They report less head pressure, less shakiness, less morning anxiety, more stable blood pressure readings. Importantly, this change does not require medication adjustments. It does not require supplements. It requires understanding and timing. It is also important to address a common misconception. Some people believe that switching to decaffeinated coffee solves the problem. Decaffeinated coffee may reduce stimulation, but it does not eliminate all effects. Even decaf contains small amounts of caffeine, and the ritual itself can still activate the nervous system. For sensitive individuals, timing still matters. Another misconception is that stronger coffee is the problem. Strength matters, but timing matters more. A stronger coffee consumed later is often better tolerated than a weaker coffee consumed immediately after waking. This is why focusing on habits rather than substances is so important after 60. The body is not asking you to give up everything you enjoy. It is asking for a different rhythm. By respecting the body's natural morning transition, you reduce unnecessary strain on the heart and blood vessels. This is one of the simplest and most effective changes older adults can make to protect cardiovascular health. In the next part of this video, we will look at 2 additional morning mistakes that quietly raise blood pressure. These mistakes have nothing to do with food or drinks. They involve how you move your body and how you measure your blood pressure. Together, these small adjustments can dramatically reduce morning stress on the heart. In addition to coffee timing, there are 2 very common morning mistakes that quietly raise blood pressure in people over 60. These mistakes have nothing to do with what you eat or drink. They are about how you move and when you measure. Because these habits feel normal, they are rarely questioned. But after 60, their impact is much greater than most people realize. Let's start with the first mistake: standing up too quickly after waking. After lying down all night, your body is in a horizontal position. Blood is evenly distributed. Your heart does not have to work against gravity in the same way it does when you are upright. When you suddenly sit up or stand, gravity pulls blood toward the lower part of the body. The heart must respond immediately by increasing its effort to push blood upward to the brain. In younger adults, this response is fast and precise. Blood vessels in the legs tighten quickly. Blood pressure is maintained smoothly. In older adults, this response is slower and less coordinated. Blood vessels do not tighten as efficiently. The nervous system reacts with a slight delay. For a brief moment, blood pressure may drop, then rebound. This rebound effect is important. The initial drop can cause dizziness or lightheadedness. The rebound can cause a brief spike in blood pressure. Many seniors experience this as a moment of unsteadiness or a need to grab onto something for support. Because it passes quickly, they ignore it. They may even believe it is normal aging. But repeating this pattern every morning places unnecessary stress on the heart and blood vessels. It also increases the risk of falls, which is a serious concern after 60. The solution is simple, but it requires intention. Instead of standing up immediately, sit on the edge of the bed for 30 to 60 seconds. Move your feet. Take a few calm breaths. Allow your cardiovascular system time to adjust. Then stand slowly. This short pause gives blood vessels time to respond and reduces sudden pressure changes. The second mistake is measuring blood pressure too early in the morning. Many people are advised to check their blood pressure at home. This can be helpful, but timing matters. Immediately after waking, blood pressure is often unstable. The body is still transitioning from sleep to activity. Hormones are rising. The nervous system is activating. Measuring blood pressure during this unstable window often produces higher readings. These readings may not reflect your true daily blood pressure. This leads to confusion and unnecessary worry. Some people believe their medication is no longer working. Others feel anxious about numbers that do not represent their usual state. In some cases, this leads to unnecessary medication changes. Proper blood pressure measurement requires consistency and calm. Ideally, blood pressure should be measured after you have been awake for at least 30 to 60 minutes. You should be seated comfortably, with your feet on the floor, your back supported, and your arm at heart level. You should rest quietly for several minutes before measuring. This allows the cardiovascular system to settle and produces a more accurate reading. Another important detail is emotional state. Checking blood pressure when you feel rushed, anxious, or uncomfortable can raise the numbers. This does not mean the reading is wrong. It means it reflects a temporary state, not your baseline. After 60, blood pressure becomes more sensitive to posture, movement, hydration, and emotional stress. This is why single readings, especially early morning readings, can be misleading. Doctors look for patterns, not isolated numbers. When blood pressure is measured incorrectly or too early, it can create a false sense of danger. This fear itself can raise blood pressure further, creating a cycle of worry and elevated readings. Understanding when and how to measure blood pressure helps break this cycle. It allows you and your doctor to make better decisions based on reliable information. Both of these morning mistakes share a common theme. They involve rushing the body during a vulnerable transition. Standing too quickly and measuring blood pressure too early both add stress at a time when the cardiovascular system is still adjusting. After 60, the body asks for patience. It does not ask for dramatic changes. It asks for better timing. By slowing down how you move and being thoughtful about when you measure, you reduce unnecessary strain on the heart and blood vessels. These changes may seem small, but small changes, repeated every morning, have a powerful cumulative effect. They reduce pressure spikes. They improve stability. They lower risk over time. In the final part of this video, we will talk about why these morning spikes matter in the long run, and why the good news is that you have far more control than you may think. By now, you may be wondering why these morning blood pressure spikes matter so much. After all, many of them are brief. Many people feel better later in the day, and many readings return to normal. The reason they matter is not because of a single spike. They matter because of repetition. After the age of 60, the cardiovascular system becomes more sensitive to repeated stress. Blood vessels are less flexible. The heart has less reserve. The brain is more vulnerable to changes in blood flow. When blood pressure rises sharply, even for short periods, it places strain on the inner lining of blood vessels. Over time, this strain can contribute to damage that increases the risk of stroke, heart attack, and abnormal heart rhythms. This is especially important for people who already have high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, or a history of atrial fibrillation. In these situations, the margin for error is smaller, but it is also important to say this clearly and calmly. A morning blood pressure spike does not mean something terrible is about to happen. This video is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to help you recognize patterns early, when they are easiest to change. One of the most common mistakes people make is focusing too much on individual numbers. A single high reading can cause anxiety. A single normal reading can cause false reassurance. Doctors do not diagnose or manage blood pressure based on one number. They look for patterns over time. Morning spikes are a pattern. They often go unnoticed because they happen during a busy part of the day. They are masked by routines, and they often resolve on their own. But resolving on their own does not mean they are harmless. The encouraging news is this: morning blood pressure spikes are among the most modifiable cardiovascular risks after 60. You do not need extreme diets. You do not need supplements. You do not need to make your life complicated. You need better timing. You have already learned that the morning is a vulnerable transition period for the body after 60. You have learned that the nervous system, hormones, blood vessels, and heart are all adjusting at the same time. You have also learned that certain habits add unnecessary stress during this window. Drinking coffee too early, standing up too quickly, measuring blood pressure before the body has settled. These habits feel normal because they have been part of daily life for decades. But the body changes, even when habits do not. Making small adjustments during the first hour of the day can have a powerful protective effect. Delaying coffee allows natural hormone levels to stabilize. Moving slowly allows blood vessels time to adjust. Measuring blood pressure correctly provides accurate information instead of unnecessary worry. None of these changes require perfection. They require awareness and consistency. Many people are surprised by how much better they feel after making these adjustments. They report calmer mornings, steadier energy, and more reliable blood pressure readings. Just as importantly, they feel more confident. Confidence matters. Fear raises blood pressure. Anxiety activates the nervous system. Calm reduces strain on the heart. Understanding how your body works gives you calm. Another important point to remember is that aging is not a disease. Needing more time in the morning does not mean you are weak. It means your body is asking for respect. Slowing down is not giving up. It is adapting wisely. If you take one idea away from this video, let it be this. After 60, protecting the heart is less about doing more and more about doing things at the right time. The first hour of the day sets the tone for everything that follows. By treating that hour with care, you reduce unnecessary stress and support long-term health. This channel exists to help you understand these changes clearly and calmly, without fear and without confusion. If you found this information helpful, consider subscribing. In the next video, we will talk about 5 common symptoms after 60 that many people ignore because they seem normal, but should never be dismissed. These symptoms are not meant to scare you. They are meant to guide you toward informed, timely action. One informed decision can protect years of health. Thank you for taking the time to learn how to care for your heart.